There was times where I was doing similar things on the same days in similar years, feeling the same things, struggling with the same things, the horrifying realization that, oh my goodness, I am repeating my life. We're just on this autopilot treadmill going and going and going, reset. It's like playing a video game that you get killed and you respawn, you get killed and you respawn. Usually, what's keeping you in the loop is one or more of those fears. That's a decision. I am not going to let this run my life. I'm going to run my life. Anxiety is the price of the ticket to life. And if you try to avoid anxiety, you will just stay in your loops. This book, the idea was there for a long time. Wouldn't it be cool if there was a story about someone avoiding the appointment with their soul, and then they were called to a place where they couldn't get out of it?
Welcome to another episode of the Oliver Schirach Show with me, your host, Oliver. And today I got to have a great and deep conversation with James Robbins about fear, ego versus intuition and soul. How do we know where we act from? Are we coming from the fear and ego base, or are we listening to our intuition and what the soul wants? James is a best-selling author and leadership expert. His first book was called 9 Minutes on Monday, which made him a bestseller in the leadership sector. With this new book, The Call to Climb, he enters the novel fantasy and self-finding spiritual sector. The Call to Climb is a story where the soul or God puts our main character in a situation where he can't escape the deep talk the soul wants to have. A story that helps you to reignite your purpose, challenge your comfort zone, and help you align your life with your true calling. This is a conversation for the ones that want to have a deeper and closer look at their life and their behaviors, beliefs, and actions that keep you in a never-ending cycle. And if you want to break free and redefine your life, this might actually be the conversation you need to listen to at this moment. There's a lot of little tips spread all over. It's not like just like, here's the tip. Listen to the whole thing. There's a tip for everyone, I would say. And let me know what you take from this conversation in the comments, please. I would love to know what you learn in the talks I have. And if you had yourself such a situation where your soul, God, or whatever you believe in pushed you in a situation where you had to have a deep talk with yourself and find out what you really are meant to do. What is your true calling? So without any further ado, welcome to James Robbins. Welcome to another Oliver Schirach Show podcast episode where I'm going out and finding people, or people find me, as in today's case, where we talk about all kind of things. I try to find some words to boost my SEO for YouTube and Spotify, and I really talk about supernatural things, soul things, spiritual things, NDs, ancient history, mystical, authentic self-finding, depression, expression, creativity. The whole thing started with me trying to showcase that I know about creativity and innovation and business, and it kind of went more into the spiritual awakening part. And today I think it's kind of like a joint venture of those two worlds I had in my podcast with my guest James Robbins, a Canadian from Calgary. Originally I wanted to say oprindeligt, which is Danish, but now he lives in Denver. I was contacted because you have a new book that was launched in August, I don't know when, not too long ago. And you had a book before that, I think 9 Minute Mondays or something in that direction, which was a leadership book. I listened to a lot of podcasts. I got to read the first 3 chapters of your new book, which is very fantasy, non-fiction, spiritual. So it just starts after the 3rd chapter with the spiritual path. And so let's see where we go in today's episode. Welcome, James.
Oliver, thank you for having me on the show, and thank you for doing the pre-homework. Thank you.
The pre-home, yeah. But usually, I was listening to episodes, documentary a webinar, whatever, and I get hooked, and then I listen to the people, right? And if people reach out to me, I'm like, okay, who is that person? Let me read the book. Let me listen to podcasts. So, and I think it's weird that other podcasters don't do that. I think it's a natural thing to know who you're talking to.
Yes, of course. It makes for a better conversation.
Let's hope. Let's hope. But let's break the ice a little bit, because now I had you for a few hours today in my ears. So, but my listeners didn't do that before. That would be funny. If so, I will probably put a link where they can find more episodes about you, because I try to not repeat what you said before. I try to get a new perspective to the whole thing. So, if not that one, 3 words to describe you, and why do you choose those? You can have a little story behind it, or just describe the 3 words. Why they describe you now?
I'm creative, I'm adventurous, and I'm an optimist.
Okay.
And yeah, those 3 words.
And why those 3 words?
I think I've always been creative. I think I've always been adventurous. I grew up on a cattle ranch in the foothills of the Rocky Mountains. So every day in the summer, I would just go out my front door. There was a whole valley below with a creek that ran through it. Me and my dog would just go down and be on an adventure for the entire day and come back up. I think I'm an optimist in that I just always believe things are going to work out, and I keep trying and I don't quit. Not that I don't stop sometimes, but I keep going. So combining all those 3 together from a business perspective, I think I'm always trying new things. I'm always putting myself into situations where I feel like I'm over my head and sort of jumping into a river that's too strong, but I somehow make it. And I just keep doing that over and over and over again, Oliver.
Yeah, I can see that from listening to the episodes. Your backstory, how you ended up in leadership, was kind of like unexpected as well. Let's see what comes out with the second icebreaker question. If you would be the new color in a coloring box, like all the pencils nicely lined up, and you're the new guy, what color would you be? And you can be whatever you imagine. Could be transparent or star glitter, I don't know. And why would you be that color?
Definitely wouldn't be transparent. I would be like a new color that's never been seen before, but that if you were describing it, would be some sort of dark midnight blue with neon green pulsing, and it made you feel like you wanted to do something great with your life.
Oh, so like motivation. Like you're pulling the people,
it would inspire you. It would be an inspiring color, even though blue is kind of cold, like my shirt.
I don't think it's cold. I actually think this is a warm color. Your shirt, the background blue, is a bit more towards the coldish, cooler.
Yeah, it's like an ice color.
Yeah,
but it is a mountain. So
yeah, which is the title of your book, right?
The Call to Climb. Yeah, this right here.
Not the mountain, but the Call to Climb. Why is there no mountain on it?
Well, there is at the bottom.
Oh yeah.
When you go with a publisher, you don't always get to pick. They just actually Wiley has been really good. They gave me like 6 different covers, and I made the mistake of sending them out to for friends and family, and nobody agreed on anything except the one they didn't like, and that's the one I went with. I went with my gut. I was like, you know what, I like this one. Let's make some changes to it. But that's the time. That's the cover.
Yeah. Okay. That with the cover, I know from a friend which wrote several books. Then once in a while on Instagram and Facebook, you get like which cover is the best and why, and then
yeah,
or why people choose, and then he chooses one. So it is a warm color, not a blue. It's an orange yellow cover. It's like a sunrise or sunset. I don't know.
I do have a friend that's very artistic, and he had said he was actually the only one that agreed with me. Well, one of the few. And he was like, no, orange is for optimism, which was one of my words. And I thought, yeah. So the cover grew on me. It's got sort of a retro. I know we're burning up time on your podcast talking about the font of my book. But anyways, yeah, that's That's the book.
Yes. Okay. So now we know you're like an optimist and you try to inspire people. And as I can hear, this has been through all your life, from childhood to now, throughout your career. So it's not like something changed and you have been a different person. You would have described yourself differently as a child or a young man.
I think what dominated my emotional signature for my first chunk of life was insecurity. I grew up a redhead, freckle faced kid, and in a small town where everyone's white, you become the minority just because of your hair color. And the girls don't like you. Even though all the old ladies would say, "Oh, I bet the girls love your hair," I'd be like, "Nope, nope, they don't." So I had that growing up, and then life changed. But where did the optimism come from? Comes from? I think the optimism comes from the partly is the creativity and being adventurous. In that I'm always thinking of like, what's a better way to do something, and let's try this, and those two go together. I think I'm actually surprised I'm an optimist when I think of how many failures I've had. Like, I think more than most, and I've just stuck with things.
Yeah, that was actually in my head to ask you failure. How much does failure play a part in your life with the optimism? Isn't like something like you need to fail in life to grow and move forward and learn, or
I don't know about that. I think if there wasn't a thread of optimism in me, I don't know that I would have survived so many low points, like just grinding. But I just always have this belief things can get better, and the same with people. It's hard for me to let go of a staff member. It's hard for me to fire someone because I just think like, no, I can help them. There's more there, or whatever it might be. But there's a time where optimism is not good, and I have probably prolonged some pain in my life because I've not let go of things earlier.
so there could be like the fear of letting go, which is then hiding behind optimism.
Could be, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, but I'm not a psychologist or psychiatrist or anything. That was just coming up in you. If you say you hold
It's a
on
good
too long,
question, though. I'm going
right?
to journal on that. It's a good question.
Yeah, because optimism is good, but you need. It's like I learned innovation management, like radical innovation, moonshots, and stuff like that. And I told you before we started recording, that I cannot land a job. I have all these like skills and schooling, and they look for people like me. But when I apply, I don't get the jobs. And innovation is really, if you go for the big innovation stuff, it's like shooting out for a lot of horses, right? Betting on a lot of horses, but find out fast which horse can make the race and then let go of the bad horses. It's kind of the innovation. Don't bet everything on one horse, right? Because if that's failing, then you lose all the investment. And it's also failing as part of the innovation process, right? If you want to have like the good new product process, whatever it is, it's like try out a lot of things and let go of the bad stuff. And don't be afraid of failure. But I have the feeling I'm, on the other hand, pretty much afraid of failure in a business perspective. I'm not so afraid of being honest when I see people and I feel they're bullshitting or I need to say something. I'm too open there. So that's why people probably have the feeling like, oh, he's not afraid of failing. He's not afraid of anything. He's courageous. I'm like, yeah, but when I look at my life business, that's where I'm afraid. Earning money is where I'm afraid. I'm not afraid to go mountain biking or hiking or doing sports and using my body and talk to people. But now we have been talking a lot, and people ask, who is this James actually? Besides growing up somewhere in Calgary area in the mountains on a ranch, being courageous and red-haired. So what are you doing at the moment besides writing 2 books as you had? So where are you and how did you get here?
So after I went to college to become a film director because I love stories, and then life sort of threw me a curveball, and I ended up going into Christian ministry, which was not even on the top 100 list of things I might do in my life. But I enjoyed helping people. I sort of just kind of fell into that, and I did that for a lot of years. But over time, I started to feel restless there. And part of it was the financial part. There's a ceiling of what you can make unless you're one of these preachers that fly private jets. But that doesn't work for me. But I think I grew restless also because the culture of the organization had changed a lot, and I just didn't resonate with me anymore. And that thrust me into, what am I going to do with my life? I followed in the footsteps of John Maxwell. I opened up a leadership training company. I started teaching leadership, speeches on stage, which is so funny as this shy, introverted kid. But I did well, and that grew. And now my main thing is I have a leadership development company. So we train leaders, we help organizations build better cultures, but also where my recent transformation is working more deeply with leaders and business owners to help them, yes, be successful in business, but also not lose their life along the way.
Yeah, that's where the spirituality part comes in, from your new book. And you said preacher in the ministry, or what was it? Have you been religious? Are you Catholic, strong believer, or
I
just?
did not grow up religious. I did not grow up going to church, but I started going to church when I was in college, and then that's how that avenue opened up. So it was in Christianity, and I would not call myself religious, but spiritual. So, I mean, when you're a preacher for a while, you're religious, whether you say you're not, but you just are, because you're running a religious organization with rules that you just, unfortunately, you got to have some kind of boundaries and what constitutes a member. But yeah, it's easy to get away from the spirituality, and there's a lot of people who are in leadership positions in religions, and it's easy to lose the thread. It's easy to lose what it's all about, because then you're building an organization, and then it's like, well, let's build another one, and let's start another one over here, and
Okay. Wow, that's interesting. As you didn't grow up with going to church, and yet you were then leading. So how? Wow, how did that happen? Right, to be the leader of that church.
that was a progression.
Yeah, I mean, you need to understand the Bible somehow, I would say, because when I went to church to read verses and paragraphs and parts of the Bible to have their ceremony, so they kind of know it. But if you don't really grow up, so you really went deep down. What happened in your life that you did?
I didn't grow up, like I said, I didn't grow up religious, but I just had a belief in God. Remember me and my dog walking in this valley, and I would pray a lot, even though there was no form to it. It wasn't like in a religion. It wasn't even like Christian. It was just, I would just pray, just talk to God, this kid, while he's walking. But when I was going to college, I got invited out to this church. I went out. It was young, exciting, a lot of energy. The people were amazing. That's when I started learning about the Bible, and I really fell in love with it, especially the stories. I just loved the stories. Then one summer, the preacher said, "Hey, we need someone to work for the church for the summer, like set up volleyball nets and that kind of stuff." I'm like, yeah, count me in. That's better than working at the restaurant. So I did that, and it was just really fun because I was helping people, having fun. And so by the time I got done school, I'd been training for a few years. They said, "Oh, why don't you come in sort of our program that we have for training ministers?" I was, okay, sure, I'll do that. And did that for a while, and then eventually did that for a number of years. And eventually they sent me out on my own. So away we went. So yeah, that was a lot of years of my life. A lot of my sellable skills now came from those years. I mean, the fact that I can present as well as I can is from just 1,000 reps. No, 2,000 reps, right? Just speaking all the time. You have to get better, or something's wrong. Learning about people. Where it helped me with the leadership is that I spent years leading an organization that you're not paying people, and yet you've got to motivate them. You can't kick them out. You can't fire them, and you just got to work with them. And so it really helps you grow in your emotional intelligence. That's where I learned a lot about intrinsic motivation. So all of that ended up making me better at what I do now. Like we're really good at what we do with teaching leadership to organizations. We bring a fresh insight. We produce great results. But all that came from my path. And that's just one of those lessons for every one of us, right? For those listening, is that whatever your path is right now, it is adding to you so that you can do something greater in the future.
Yeah, even if you don't see the point why you do all these things.
Exactly.
Like in my case, as I said already, I wanted to be an architect or an actor when I was younger, or musician, but I didn't really sing that well, and the instruments didn't go that fast. Played soccer, then I thought like, oh, perhaps I can be professional there. For whatever reason, I chose not to do architecture, and I had a few friends that were shocked by that because they saw me as an architect. And I did mechanical engineering, and during the studies, I had a good teacher, which then convinced me to do business engineering because you can be more creative. Because when you work with the people, you can be creative in the processes and the products and selling and all that stuff. And eventually, I worked 4 years as a quality engineer, automotive, Bang Olufsen speakers in the cars, high end, before all these other car makers also created their luxury version of the audio. And then I got Siemens as a project manager and was fired. Exactly like 6 months after my daughter was born, right? So when my daughter was born, the whole thing fell apart, like burnout and stress and everything. My whole world was pulled away. And then I said, okay, what now? Let's go to school again. I'm unemployed. I have a hard time to find jobs. No one, I had like 2 interviews and didn't get it. So I'm like, okay, what school? And I went back to the safe, doing business engineering, because I had like, okay, should I go for architecture now? You're 33 until you're done. You're 38 and blah. You did quality engineering, project management. Let's continue. So you have, and I did it, and I burned out again, and I never worked on it, never. But in the same time I went to school, I started, or just a little bit before my daughter was born, I started with photography. So like for 7-8 years, I did a lot of photography, online courses. Creative Life was just coming up. Doing all that stuff, online learning, portrait, landscape. Eventually, all the camera, everything, like it broke or got stolen. I'm like, what the fuck is going on? And then I started podcasting, but that as well was in 2000, like 6 years. It took me 6 years to start the podcast. And as I said, I wanted to do creativity, innovation, because, that's what I studied, and, I like innovation, but it went into the spiritual path. So it's kind of like, what am I doing with all these different things? I'm drawing, sketching. I can do AutoCAD. I can use my hands. Now I did 2 years carpentry, like table and stuff like that. So I made like my chair and make like the furniture on the side. You cannot see, it's just below the camera. But after 2 years I stopped. I'm like, what is this going to help me with? It's like a bunch of weird things in my life that come together, and I have no idea what this will be ever used for. I have no idea what God, the universe, my higher self plans for me, and it can be very frustrating in my case, because I don't see
100%.
the path. I don't see the path. Like, where am I going? But for you, it must have been feeling similar. But now you look back and you have like, oh wow, I can present, I can talk, I have a different feeling of leading because I went that path. Did you ever have in the younger years some kind of spiritual, religious kind of insight experience that pushed you forward, or it was just like happenstance, coincidences?
Well, from a spiritual perspective, yes. It's interesting looking back. I don't think I've ever told anyone this story. I was, I had this faith in God as a kid, but like I said, we didn't go to church. I remember I wanted to make myself a cross. And so I got this wood from the wood shop, and I just, glued it together. Made me feel like, I was probably 10 years old at the time. Anyways, I'm wrestling with a bunch of my friends, and then all of a sudden I just became like violently ill, like I was going to throw up, and hot flashes and sweaty, and I ran upstairs into the bathroom, and I took my shirt off, and I saw the cross was broken. It had broke with the wrestling with the friends, and I took it off, and then I felt better. And it was just one of those moments, however you want to interpret that. For me as a kid, it was just like this confirmation of God is real. And that's how I saw that at that age. So, and the other thing that happened was in the ninth grade, I had this friend that came and said, "Hey, I heard about this guy who read the Bible every day and his life went better. His life was blessed." And I was like, and we were like, we should do that because we want our lives to be blessed. And so we had this, we just found Bibles and we would read one chapter every day. We did that for like a week and he stopped, but I kept going. And I was 14 and I just kept reading one chapter a day. Well, I think I have enough OCD that once I have a streak going, I don't want to mess it up. That went for 5 years without missing a night. Sometimes in college, going to bed drunk, still pulling out the Bible, reading a chapter. I finished the whole book. Now, I didn't do anything in it. Like I didn't follow it. It was part of the drumbeat of my life. And I think there's an important principle there, right? Like, what are the drum beats in your life? What's the thing that just keeps beating? And for me, it was reading one chapter of the Bible every night. So, to answer your question about the spiritual things, I think it was that. I think also, this goes back to you trying out different things. I can relate. I believe there's breadcrumbs in our lives. If we look back, the challenge is we view everything through vocation, right? We view everything through the job titles. And what we miss is underneath the job title, it's actually talents that we bring to something. Or we're in a job and we don't get to bring any talents. We don't get to bring any of our passion, our soul. Those are the jobs we hate, the jobs where we feel dead. But then we might be doing something else and we feel alive. And then, so for example, I start to notice this in myself. I'm on Instagram and you get in the algorithm of something. I must have watched some guy making a table out of wood. And now I'm just seeing all these guys making tables. But every time I stop and I'm like, I want to make tables, right? So the erroneous thing there is to go, maybe I should quit my job and start a business making tables. No, or maybe, but there's something in there that's sparking something for me. Now, maybe it is to go make tables, or maybe it's that's a reminder of my father and how he used to do woodworking. And by doing projects like that, it makes me feel close to him. Maybe that is, right? So this is why we want to live an examined life. The more you know about yourself, the more you know about your shadow, your weaknesses, your strengths, your gifts, the better decisions you're able to make. Because at the end of the day, even though your emotions are going to pull you one way or the other, the rational brain has got to make a final say. It won't make it without the emotion, but it's got to make the final say. And where I've learned this recently in my life is that before I used to, let's say I'm about to commit to something, but I just feel this anxiety in my chest. Well, I used to think, okay, well, obviously this is the wrong road then. I'm feeling some kind of resistance. This must be. But I've also learned to go, wait a minute, but I also know you have many fears in this area. And so this could just be a smokescreen because I know myself. And I'm going to override this feeling that I'm going down the wrong path because intellectually I've looked at it all and I think it's the right path. And then, boom, make the decision. Then you get on the other side of it and you're like, okay, that was just fear. I'm glad I didn't say, oh, my intuition told me to turn around. So yeah. I'm a believer in that, right? Like, know yourself well enough that you can also see through the trickery of the subconscious, the ego, and the fears that it likes to use to control your life.
Yeah, there's many avenues that can go down from here. Like, spirituality, like soul versus ego, intuition versus ego, intuition versus fear. And what do you have here? Like, you said something about a gift. I was thinking of when you talk, like, do you have a gift now, a skill you never believed you will achieve? Like something that came forth.
Yeah, speaking on stage and communicating, I would have the first 3 speeches I did in my life were complete failures, right? Like, because I was a kid. But it was like, after every one, it's like someone put a sticky note on me, Post-it note, like, not a speaker. Well, after 3 failed speeches as a kid, yeah, I'm covered in sticky notes, right? Not a speaker. And so, but I still remember, this goes back to college. I was attending this church, and the preacher said, "Hey, we'd like someone from the university to get up on the church and share what you're learning in your Bible, because you're new and you're just learning." And my immediate response was like, internally, it was like, "Can't you see all these sticky notes? Like, I don't do this. I can't do this." But I felt like I couldn't say no to the preacher. So I was like, okay. And then, cue the dread, cue the like, I can't believe I got to do this. And I had this distinct moment. I was sitting on a football field, maybe a couple days before. I was whining and moping about it. And it was literally like, when you hear that voice in your head, it's like that part of you that says something. It was maybe tired of me whining, but it just said, "Can you for once just not be afraid of what everyone thinks?" That was the question. And I said, okay, one time, sure. And then I thought, all right, well, you know what? If I'm going to do this, and if I am going to fail, let's at least fail really big, and it'll be a fun story somewhere down the line. So the difference was, that was a shift in mindset right there, right? From an ego mindset to more of a soul mindset. Like, okay, let's go for this. So I did prepare. I did actually get an outline, and then I was still nervous, but when I went up, I was like, okay, let's go for it. Now, again, I'm a shy, introverted guy, but I was like, I'm going to bring energy. And so I shared for 5 minutes, super excited. And when I got done, people started coming up to me saying, "Hey, you should do more of that." And I didn't right away. And I still had all these sticky notes, but they began to fall off one by one. But here's the thing, right? Who put the notes there? It's just me. I did. It's like the elephant that's attached with the small chain, right? It's just whatever you believe about yourself is true, even though it's not reality. So by then I started to think, okay, maybe I can try this again. And then you start to learn that there is a skill to speaking, right? Once you get the fear out of the way, there's a skill to speaking. And I really dove into the craft, partly out of fear that I just didn't want to look stupid. And as I got in the ministry and you had to speak more, I was like, I better learn this skill. And I really devoted a lot to my craft. So the imposter syndrome can actually benefit you when it makes you study harder, practice more. You rise above your peers.
Okay, so what were the steps you took to hone those skills? Did you get books? I mean, when was that, in the 90s, or when was that?
Yeah, that was in the 90s, 2000s. I became a student of the craft of
How?
presentations.
Did you have like a group you went to, and then you were practicing together? You got books you read about how to...
Read books, kept notes. Every time I heard a presentation, like if I was in church, I was hearing presentations all the time. I kept a back note, a back page in my notes. If the guy speaking had his arms really big and paused, and then it's like a part of me would come out of the room for a moment and think, wow, that's really powerful. Like, you can feel the room right now. And I'd be like, what's he doing? Okay. And I'd write that in my book. Or someone speaking and I'm like, this is so boring. And I'm like, then I'd be like, why is this boring? And I'm like, what's the speaker doing that's making this boring? So I just became a student. And then, of course, when I started speaking professionally, not ministry, but like actually going to companies, and that was, insecurity overdrive, because I felt like, okay, I can speak, but I don't know these people's worlds. But what I would do is every speech I would go into, I would think, what's one thing I'm going to focus on this speech, right? Which might be, I'm going to make eye contact with, 3 people in the crowd instead of like sweeping over everyone. Or I'm going to come off the stage and walk amongst the people and engage with someone, right? It was always one goal. But every time then I would finish and I would go to the airport, jump back on the plane, pull my notes out. What went well? What do I want to do different next time? And that was the routine. just over and over and over. How come people tuned out when I was talking about this psychological study? How come people leaned in when I started telling the story of being on the golf course and getting in a fight with one of the members, right? Like,
Okay.
I became a student of the craft. And yeah, that has served me well for sure.
Okay. So that's good. So we have like an advice and a tip here for people who want to become speakers or
For sure.
presenters. Um, then before that, we you had like the intuition part and the fear part. How do you how did you learn to listen to your intuition? When do you know this is intuition, this is fear or ego? What is the difference, right? From the inner voice, it sounds like it's the same voice, but when is it, the soul speaking, and when is it the ego speaking?
That's a question I've struggled with for many years. And I think just recently I'm starting to get a handle on that. So let's first go back to the first chunk of our life is so ego driven. And that's not wrong. It's not a bad thing. It's just how it is, right? And the ego is concerned with acceptance from the tribe. It's just so evolutionary. Like that's the thing above all things is that we cannot be exiled from the tribe. That's certain death. We can't make people angry, right? And so there's certain things that then happen in our little life that reinforce those scripts. So whether you get bullied or you decided to go up front for show and tell, and then someone laughs at you, and then you think, okay, don't take risks. People laugh at you. So these stories get reinforced. I think when you can begin to realize that when you see the role of the ego in your life and it is protective, but then when you start to see the soul is wanting to expand, to express, and it's not always clear at first, right? It's just this longing for something more, something bigger, something better, something more meaningful. Often the soul is after meaning. The ego loves to make money because we're safe when we have a lot of money. We have more options. We have more prestige from a society perspective. And the soul is okay to be the starving artist because it wants to express. Not that the soul's opposed to money, but so for me, it's still an ongoing battle, Oliver. Like I I have my own money stories from growing up. I've got my father's voice, who I have a great father, but he's also about work hard, make money. And then I have my mother, who's more Reiki master and has crystals. And I
Oh,
resonate with both of them. But part of my dad's money story that's passed on to me is I'm always like, well, will this make money? Or I'll I'll listen. So in my world, I'll listen to some guy make a presentation on manufacturing to leaders in manufacturing. And I'll listen to it and I'm like, I talk about all that same stuff. I could do that in manufacturing. And then I'm like, I could go down that lane because it'll make more money. And it's just so automatic to think like that for me. Like, let me go there. But is that what my soul wants? Does my soul just want to keep launching ideas to make money? Or does my soul want something more meaningful? And that's why being intentional, living an examined life, which means you need space for that. You need some space in the morning to reflect and have an intention for the day. You need some space at the end of the day to think, how was that? Otherwise, we're just on this autopilot treadmill going and going and going, reset, reset. It's like playing a video game that you get killed and you respawn, you get killed and you respawn, right? And that just becomes our life instead of going, wait a minute, why do I keep getting killed in this one spot? Like maybe I should change and do something different. So,
yeah. So that brings me then to, you open it up, routines. Do you have any routines, anything you would suggest for the listeners? My listeners apparently are between 30 and 50, mostly, and then a few above, and not so many young, apparently. But what kind of routines do you have? Or what did it change, the routines you have to just connect with your intuition, your soul, yourself?
I've had many. And when you get into your 30s, so for those of you who are in your 30s, early 40s, that's those prime years where you really begin to start to question, right? Like, is this what I'm supposed to be doing? And Dr. James Hollis calls this the collision of selves, right? You have this first self, which you don't even realize it, but it's just you, right? But then all of a sudden, this other self comes out of nowhere and sort of just T-bones the car. And that's the nudges. That's the being stuck in traffic going, I don't like my life. Or coming back from vacation feeling depressed, going, oh, I got to go back, right? What's wrong? That's that other self coming in that is calling us to have a conversation. That's actually what the book is about. It's about this mystical place where this mountain calls people to climb so they can have a conversation with their soul, so that they have to listen, right?
Yeah.
And what happened?
It's exactly what the first three chapters basically are. What you said, you have this thing, something breaks apart. This South American, what was it? It's not Costa Rica. It's
Bolivia.
This Bolivian guy, it's the only one in this little village which speaks English, and he says, I cannot imagine how people always end at my door. One is a doctor, another one is a lawyer, businessman, whatever. Car breaks down, no more gasoline, whatever. They get lost in, like you say, this thing happens in life. And
yeah, the soul, the inner life, psyche, whatever word you want to use, but it's that inner part of us that knows us better than we know ourselves. Like, for consciously, it knows what's right for us. It knows the right path for us. And I'm going to get back to your question. So I did remember it, which is about routines. But when it comes to routines, I've tried so many different things, and I think that's okay. I used to judge myself, like, why can't I stick with a routine, like journaling and everything? But yes, I have routines in the mornings, and the first one for me is always, there has to be exercise. There has to be movement of my body. I get out and I exercise with a bunch of friends, or I wouldn't do it.
oh, wow.
And
the
then
morning
some
club.
reflection.
The
What's
morning
that?
club, that's like not the meditation morning club, or what is it, the 4 o'clock club, or the 5 o'clock club? So you have like the fitness club. When is that in the morning? 5, 6, 7, 8?
It's a really cool organization that is all across America, and it's volunteer. It's men. It's open to all men. It's always held outdoors, usually 5 a.m., 5:30 a.m.
Oh, fuck, man.
It's peer led. It doesn't cost you anything. It's really amazing. I think there's almost 100,000 guys now doing this all across the country. There's just sites just keep growing because it's created a place for men to have community where it's not religious either. It's not attached to any religion. But anyways, that's how I start. And then one of the things I do is I have 7 commitments that I have made in my life. 7 commitments according to the things that are important to me. I'm just trying to find it. But basically, what I've done is I've created these. I added a commitment. You can't see it, but it's on my iPad.
Yeah,
There's these
handwritten.
8 commitments, yes. And these are my commitments that I'm making in my life. And how my life is going is all about, am I keeping my commitments? It's irrespective of my job, what I'm doing, what country I'm living in, even who is with me. It's, am I keeping my commitments?
What kind of commitments are those? Is it like a personality traits, how you interact, or?
Well, I can list some of them. One is a commitment for health, but it's not so much the commitment. It's, why is that a commitment, right? So my commitment is to pursue health so that I'm here for my kids who do rely on me and like me being around. I have a commitment as a father to adult children, which is to be there as a consistent support, to love them, to be an anchor that they can always come back to, a cheerleader for them. I have a commitment to my friends, which is to give them strength, to be a catalyst for adventures to check in on them. I have a commitment. I have also have a commitment just as a person in society to be a leader. And what I mean by that is as a duty to do good things. And so that's just some of them. But one of them is I have a commitment to build wealth, but it's the reason behind it. And that is so that I can feel more free, that I can be a resource for my kids, and that I can be generous to help others. Right. So I have a commitment to build wealth. So all these commitments, I'm able to review these and go, am I being this? And why that's important is it keeps it top of mind, even from a brain perspective, right? Like what is top of mind we notice. So I'll give you an example. Yesterday, I'm at this cafe and this wind, I'm inside, but this wind came up outside and they have these tables with the big umbrellas. Well, this
Yes.
big umbrella blows over, flips, hits this other guy, lands on him. And there's two other people. They're trying to like wrangle this umbrella. And I'm just watching this whole thing. But then there was that prompt that was like, well, you should go and help them.
Yeah.
But there's the other side. It's like, well, that's not my job, right? But then I remembered my commitment, which is you're a man who takes action to go and help. Like you're not a bystander. So I got up and I went out and pulled the pin and got the thing, made smaller. But that's just a little example. So after a couple of weeks, I can ask myself about, let's say, my commitment as my friends. And if I haven't talked to them, I haven't checked in on them, I'm just not keeping my commitments.
Okay.
So let me keep my commitments.
So how do you check? Is it like a daily thing? You look at it. Did I check a few check boxes, or is it like once in a while?
I look at it almost daily, but I don't do check boxes and stuff. I used to do things like that where I was like measure everything, but that became overwhelming. And for me, it's like doing my taxes. Then I don't enjoy that. No, I don't look at it like that. But so, for example, let's say each one of my commitments requires something of me, like building wealth. Building wealth means making my business successful, which means sales. I hate sales. I have a fear of rejection, which means I have to be courageous, right? So if my company is not making money, I have to say, I'm not keeping my commitment. And why am I not keeping my commitment? What am I not doing? Oh, I'm not reaching out. I'm not having brave conversations. I'm not doing the fundamentals I need. Okay, come on, James. Let's do this. We got to keep your commitments.
Okay.
So I think everyone should outline what are their commitments and then what are your compelling reasons to keep them.
How did you find those? Did you sit down, journal, write down all kind of things, or what? For me, it also sounds a bit like values, right? The values we live accordingly, and sometimes for me, also as a father, the kids are the most important. That's why I'm still in Denmark. Otherwise, I might be in Costa Rica or Switzerland or somewhere, because nothing holds me here in Denmark. I'm here because of my kids. I feel the value, my kids are the highest value I have at the moment. But sometimes there's like these values which are contradicting in life. And then you stand there and you don't understand why now you're kind of, right? You're grinding and you don't understand what's going on, because subconsciously you have two values which are contradicting each other.
Yeah.
So these commitments sounds a lot like values. And how did you find them out consciously? So I guess before you were like unconsciously at times, reacting different.
They are rooted in values, but they're not so much like if we look at a list of values, right? So maybe being generous or, whatever it might be, and you can print out a big list of values. Well, to me, that's really overwhelming. And I need more context. So my commitments, yes, they're value-based, but there's multiple values within each. So I view it more like what are the not just roles I play in my life, but what is important, right? Obviously, the roles of a friend is important to me, as a partner, as a father, a commitment to my health, a commitment to one of them I didn't read, but it's a commitment to be faithful to my soul. So that's ongoing work. So that when I have those moments like, oh, that's a great idea, I could make money doing that. Wait a minute, is that what is best for my soul? And what my soul really wants to do is do this. And so how come you haven't started that? And to reflect on that, oh, I'm scared to switch lanes and start talking about motivational stuff because people just know me as this guy who's the leadership guy. But that's where my soul wants me to press into. So in so many ways, Oliver, this is the work of me being faithful to my soul, because I have other books to write, but they're leadership books. So I have another leadership book I could have written, but this was the one that is soul bound. So everyone's going to do it differently. What's most important is that you can get something that's manageable. I don't have 100 commitments. I have 8 because I added that one about leadership stepping in. I can manage that. There's not a single time where I'm just hitting 1,000, batting 1,000 on all of them, to use an American expression. You never check this box, but this is who I want to be. So by the time I get to the end of my life, and so here's the thing: when I was a preacher, I had to do funerals. And when you are at a funeral, you will notice, for most parts, someone is going to read your eulogy, which is a list of the things you've done. And it's going to take about 2 minutes. And the rest of the hour is filled with people getting up and talking about what you meant to them. If that's our final act, right, shouldn't that give us some clues into what's most important? But we're focused on the 2-minute eulogy builder because it means something to us. And to your point about when values get in conflict, exactly. So I have a commitment to my children, right? Well, I have a commitment to build wealth. Well, if my commitment to build wealth starts to interfere with my commitment for my children, okay, there's a problem. Both of those values can live harmoniously, and vice versa. If my commitment to children is stopping me from, making the money that I need, okay, there's a problem. Not with my children. There's a problem with me, and I need to make some adjustments. So that's how I do it, right? So I wrote about this in the book. It's about creating your spiritual compass. Like, what's your true north? This is my true north. I've got my commitments, and I have my compelling reasons why I should keep them. And that's the other piece of this, is if you want to be able to write down 4 or 5 compelling reasons of why you're going to keep your commitments. Because here's the thing, life is going to kick you in the face. It's just going to happen. And it's just going to happen. People are going to betray you. That's going to happen. You're going to want to quit. That's going to happen. All these things are going to happen, but it's your reasons that help you get back up again, right? Like when the avalanche blows you over on the mountain, it's your reasons that help you get back up and keep climbing. So what are your commitments and what are your reasons for keeping those commitments? And if you just have those 2 things right there, man, I tell you, you're just going to feel so much better about your life.
Yeah, and just the example there with the mountain. I was thinking, when you have the right reasons, the commitments, the values, you get up at 4 o'clock or whatever it is, and you climb up that mountain to be there on the top at whatever time you want to be. It could be like in the evening because it's such a long mountain. But if you just say, yeah, I'm going to climb up the mountain, and you're not a morning person like I am, like I'm really tired because I had to get up at 6. So when you say 5:30 in the morning working out, like no way. The women do the 5 o'clock morning meditation, and now the man club is doing the workouts at 5:30. Like, wow, guys, no, not with me. But if you have that commitment and those reasons, you will do it, right? And you will push through as long as you physically, emotionally can. And then eventually, we have a biorhythm, right? Some people are morning, some people are evening people, and the rest in between. You can push it at a certain time, but eventually you will break down. But for that, you can push when you have the reasons. And wow, yeah. Did we finish with the routines? You said in the morning you have the man's club
Sorry, yeah.
routine.
I
We
work
go
out, I
off.
come back, I take a look at my commitments, I take a look at my reasons, I take a look at where I'm trying to go, and I like to take some time. I'm not a great meditator, but I like to take some time to try to meditate and visualize my life in the future, but as of now, and to feel those things. And that's it. That's all I do. Sometimes I journal, but that's more at night. But I did journal extensively for over a decade.
Okay, and journal was just like your thoughts, feelings, or what happened, or
It was I in hindsight, I should have done it differently. It was just this dump of like, this is what's going on in my life, and this is what I don't like, and it wasn't structured, so I don't think it helped me process. But it was actually the journal also was part of the catalyst for the book, because after you write almost daily for 10 years, and then you start to go back and you read the journal, you start to notice, wait a minute, this is the same story. Like, it's just the same story over and over and over again. In fact, it's pretty creepy. There was times where I was doing similar things on the same days in similar years, like feeling the same things, struggling with the same things, getting sick on the same days, being in the hospital in the same days in different years in different countries. I mean, crazy, which you never would ever think that. But then when you get this evidence, that's when you realize, oh, your life is in this big loop. It's in this big pattern.
it's like a circle of life, like the Incas, Mayas say, whatever different ancient cultures say. It's
Yeah.
circles. Greg Braden talks about all these cycles, up and cycles, up and cycles. We have like geopolitically, money wise, climate wise, and us ourselves certain themes. And I also realized when I did the podcast, January was for me like impossible to land anyone. I was like, what the fuck? I had like 3 people. We said let's do it, and then everyone comes and cancels, and I cannot find anyone else. And like 3-4 years in a row, always in January, I'm like, okay, whatever. January is just lost. Let's better plan some vacations in January because
Call me in January. Someone's canceling, just call me. I got lots to say.
no, but that's what I saw, and I was thinking, oh yeah, similar things happen, and also was really really down Monday, and it's like the same last year. And I know I'm going to a Indian yoga teacher here, and here where I live, there's a Tamil center, like they have temples and everything, and you get food you sometimes not even get in India because the center is so strong, and they have like a 10-day celebration because of the constellations and the stars and astrology wise. So my yoga teacher says, just be careful what you do the next few days, weeks. There's a lot of energy from the stars. So there is also something there, right? If it's always at the same period of the year in different years, something happens. Could also be things that you have to learn yourself and overcome. Oh, my car, like 3 years in a row, car broke in the same month, and I had to get a new car. So like, what the fuck?
Yeah. I think sometimes those things happen to alert us that there are patterns that we're totally missing. And once you see them, see, here's the crazy thing. This is why it's good to have an intentional life. Once you realize that there is a big loop that you're in this massive orbit, then you realize that you can predict the future. A little bit like a few days ago, there was a meteor shower all around the world. This happens on the night of my birthday. Well, I joke with people all the time, like, well, I can predict the future. I can tell you there's going to be a meteor shower on August 12th. And then people go, oh, well, there's one every year on August 12th. And I say, yes, but it's an event in the future. And I've told you it's going to happen. And I can predict it because we're in this loop. Well, it's the same in your life. And we all know friends that we can predict their life. Like they start a relationship and we're like, we know how this will go. And then, oh, they've done it again. We know how this, it's easy to see it in other people's lives. But the horrifying thing for me is that if I don't like the general theme of the last 5 years of my life, but I don't change the things that are keeping me in this pattern, I'm just going to repeat it. And my life will be exactly this, minus a few things or plus a few things in 5 years. And if I don't want that, then I really better figure out how to break orbit and get into a new elevated orbit. And that's a lot of what the book's about as well. But a lot of that came from my own life. I mean, just kind of the horrifying realization that, oh my goodness, I am repeating my life. As someone anonymous once said, it's said that a man lives 80 years, but in fact, he only lives 1 year repeated 80 times.
Yeah. When you get conscious about like, hey, this is kind of like cycling back and forth, and I don't like it. How do you elevate out of it?
Yeah, so that's the $1 million thing. Well, first it's to see it, but then to realize what's keeping you in those patterns is the programming, protective programming to keep you from whatever fears that you have. So again, usually it's about being judged from the tribe or failing. Like if you think about it, I see it as there's these three core things that we're all looking for. We're looking for love and acceptance. We're looking to know that we have something useful to offer, and we want to know that we're good enough. And when any of those are threatened, it's like the body goes on overdrive to protect those needs from, right? So that if we feel, it's like when someone feels like they have nothing to offer, they feel useless. When someone feels like they're not accepted by the tribe, they feel unloved, right? These are those core things that are bad for us. So usually what's keeping you in the loop is one or more of those fears, right? I don't want to be unaccepted. So once you realize that, you can start asking yourself, where did that come from? But honestly, even if you don't investigate, in some ways it doesn't even matter where it came from, though that can help. It's just like, why did you start smoking? Well, I just need to stop, right? So there is some rational, practical truth to that. You don't have to dive deep, but I like to know, like, where did this come from? But even once I know, that doesn't mean it changes. It just gets me some awareness, and awareness is only partly curative. So once you realize that, then you can go, okay, but what would be a better decision in those moments that will be more keeping my commitment? So let me give you a practical one. So for me in my business, because I have a natural fear of rejection, what I will do is I will prioritize tinkering with my business. Let's make a new course. Let's change the logo. Let's redo the website. Let's do everything but get on the phone and be rejected. And so, but it's so insidious that you don't even realize it's happening. But now that I can be more focused at the end of the day, at the end of the week, I can ask myself, what did you actually do for outbound sales in your company? And then you realize, hardly anything. Okay, why is that? Well, because I had to do all these other things. No, you didn't. Why? And this is where we've got to be able to ask ourselves questions and not judge the answers. And because if we judge the answers, the subconscious is not going to bring them up to us. And so in a non-judgmental way, why didn't you? Because I hate getting on the phone and calling people and disturbing them because they might not like me, they might not approve of me, or they might say no. Okay, so you're afraid of what people think of you. Okay, don't judge that. It just is what it is. But what's a better decision that's going to align with your commitment, which is to build wealth, partly also for your family? I've got to get on these calls. All right. Well, I find it almost impossible to think our way to courage. So we just have to act and then understand the anxiety is going to come, right? There's a deep state or a shadow government that's really running our life. And if you do something outside your comfort zone, it's going to punish you with heavy sanctions, anxiety, fear. But when you realize, I know how this game works, but I am going to be intentional and I'm going to pick up this phone, even though I don't want to and I feel nervous. It's okay. It's just my body running off this old script. But the new me is making this call. Even if I botch it, I'm making this call, right? So we make the call, then we make another call, and pretty soon we start to overcome that enough where we realize, oh, you know what? I'm desensitizing myself to this anxiety. Reminds me of that guy who wrote that book about rejection. I can't remember his name. He was afraid of rejection, so he just said, I'm going to do 100 days of rejection. And every day he would look for a way for someone to reject him. And he would just do these crazy big asks. But then half the time people were agreeing with him. Like he'd show up at some neighbor's door. No, not a neighbor. He'd show up at someone's door, knock on their door. Hey, can I play catch with my son in your backyard? Right? Like just a stupid thing where they're like, no. But then they'd be like, yeah, sure. Why not? So, but it was that constant, that's a decision, right? I am not going to let this run my life. I'm going to run my life, which means I'm going to have to go through this period of anxiety. And as Dr. Hollis says, anxiety is the price of the ticket to life. And if you try to avoid anxiety, you will just stay in your loops. There's no easy way. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. We can talk for hours. I can see here, but let me try to bundle the things we have here, the open ends and everything. I have the feeling there's a lot of open ends. You are INFP, I've heard in one podcast. I'm an ENFP, so we are creative.
Right on.
I act more like an INFP lately. After depression, after the divorce, right? I pulled back. I'm like, I'm feeling lonely because I get energy when I'm together with people. I'm kind of riding their energy, not like energy vampire, but that's just like I feel. I also know that from different work. So when I'm with friends which are like super in AI, I'm so motivated to learn a lot about AI. Then I'm alone. I'm like, well, whatever, doesn't matter. Then I'm with someone doing something else. I'm super motivated to be there, right? So I have like this. I borrow the flow from the people, like being on a wave, right, with the surfboard.
Yeah.
So you opened up, and that was a question I had before we started. Like, what could I ask? The writing, that you did. What did you say? 10 years of journaling or something like that.
10 years of journaling.
Yeah, and then you saw then we came into the loops, right? That you could recognize that you had some loops, but you open it up with something. Then you write the book. So I was asking myself, okay, how do you actually come to write the book? You have one book before, but so you're not like an author which went to university and as a kid already knew I'm going to write books. So how do you then come up, okay, I should write a book? And then what is the process for you as a leadership guy? I guess you will have to write the classes you sell online and the speeches, but how did you come? It's a non-fiction book. When I was reading it, it was like, a story from someone, coming into a fight and then driving, getting lost and ending up on the door. And tomorrow we go up that mountain and that mountain calls you, talk to the soul. And it feels like this, story, which binds back to the beginning of this interview when you said you wanted to go to be a producer, I think, or a movie, something.
Yeah, because of movies.
Because of the stories, the storytelling.
Yes.
So kind of I see a connection there.
Yes, for sure. And when I was a preacher, I was known as a storyteller preacher. I would just tell a lot of stories and Bible stories, and I had a gift of bringing the story that everyone had heard 100 times, to life. And so I love stories for that. Teach a class on storytelling. But the first book I wrote was financial, right? It was like, I need a book for my business. And I've been, I just wrote the book. This book, the idea was there for a long time. And back to the creativity piece, it was just, wouldn't it be cool if there was a story about someone who'd been avoiding the appointment with their soul, and then they were called to a place where they couldn't get out of it. And it was a mountain, because I like the mountains. That's where the idea came from. But then it just, honestly, I pitched the idea to McGraw-Hill and Wiley back in 2015. Both of them rejected it. Wiley, who now published it, but they rejected it back then. But I'm so glad. And for those who are aspiring authors, I want you to reframe how you view rejection, because I am so glad they rejected it then, because it was so much more prescriptive of a book. Like, here's the 5 steps, and here's the 8 this, and the 9 shifts, and it was like that. This one is nothing like that. I mean, it's a lot deeper. But what happened was, I would take stabs at it, and I kept saying, I'm going to do it, going to do it, going to do it. But the reality is, I would have never got it done if it wasn't for someone at Wiley who knew me, said, are you ever going to write that book? And I was like, well, I don't even want to run even the proposal process. I just don't want to write a big, long proposal. And they're like, no, it's really simple. Just fill out this form. So I was like, fine. I filled it out. Then they were like, the team loves it. We want to do it. Sign the contract. And the first half is due in 8 weeks. And you're like, what? And so suddenly there's that cafe I told you about by my house. They have where you only get 2 hours of Wi-Fi. So I would go there every day at 4 p.m. at the end of my day, and I would write for 2 hours, put the little clock on. I got 2 hours of Wi-Fi, and I just wrote every day for 2 hours for 8 weeks. And then as the deadline approached, I had to take like a week off and just write, then rinse and repeat for the next deadline. So without the deadline, there still would be no book, but
Okay, so you're one of those guys.
You need help. Yeah, you need some help, whether it's a publisher or a friend. At least I do, right? I need that deadline.
And the story. My son is getting curious.
Hello.
Hey, buddy, how are you?
And now yeah, he doesn't hear you because I'm here.
Okay.
No, so then the story itself, you had this idea of someone should be stuck. Jamie, we can hear you on the microphone. So you had this idea, someone getting stuck somewhere to have this conversation with the soul. So why did you have that idea? What happened in your life that you thought this has to come out?
That goes back to in my mid-30s when I had that crash and burn and was just not happy and wondering, what should I be doing? Why am I not happy in ministry? And I want to quit, but felt like I can't quit, right? That's one of those professions you feel guilty to quit. And I had bosses tell me, you can't quit, right? You've been called to this. You can't leave. And I stayed longer than I should have in the state I was in. And that's when I stumbled across James Hollis's work, Dr. Hollis's work. He has a book called Finding Meaning in the Second Half of Life. He was the one that gave me the idea about the soul summons us to have a conversation, but most people avoid the appointment. So he wrote that in that book. And I took that idea and I thought, well, wouldn't this be cool if it was in a story format? Just because not everybody resonates with reading fiction. And that's where the idea. So I had the idea for the start and I knew how the book ended, but I didn't know the entire journey. And that unfolded as I wrote it.
Because that's basically from your own life. You put pieces into it as you connect, as you basically were forced to talk to your soul and to your purpose.
Yeah. And then there's a lot of my struggle in the book, but I had to divide my struggle into multiple characters because no one would believe that some guy made that many failures. So I had to divide it up. But most of if you read a story in there and it's somebody's shortcoming or it's me, that's just always me.
Okay, so all these different characters, we just say, okay, that's basically one character in real life.
Yeah. That's James.
That's James, inspired by James. Okay, and you're a mountaineering guy, or do I get that right from what you said? So you like to climb up mountains, or?
I like to climb mountains. I will be an amateur mountaineer, but I've been up some high altitude in Bolivia. I went climbing in Bolivia many years ago now, but got above 6,000 meters, and that helped the backdrop of the book, so that I've done that.
Okay. Yeah, I was just wondering. I never really heard you say anything of like, you're super whatever fancy story, climbing up that mountain, the snowstorm comes, and you're just like the three guys, and the sun is setting, and you have to get down and whatever. I had some interview guests with that. I think the one which booked us has heard the last interview with Wells Jones, and he's going up in the morning up on the mountains, and he had one of those stories to prepare for his Middle East track. So he went up the mountains. So it's kind of funny. And the interview I had yesterday has also kind of similarities to you. And I'm like, how are these people coming? And okay, I'm curious. Let's see what the story is, where we're going. And I normally get the people I find, they say, no one asked me that before. I'm like, that's weird, because for me, it's an obvious question, but some people have not been asked. So that's why I try to keep it new. Then another thing I've seen here, and I have to see how we do it. We're already above an hour. You talked about this, the man's club, and I was thinking, I've heard a lot of time lately in the last 5-10 years, like men become more and more lonely, and like lose their manlyhood. As a man, you're there as a provider is perhaps not really the thing, but like as a protector, like to protect the women, the family, in whatever way, and we kind of lose it. And I think my depression and my anxiety and all these things were related to that my ex-wife was getting more and more masculine in her being, and in the job she had. Now she works at Lego, which is very creative, and I can see the change in the way she behaves and acts. It's more feminine, more female. So how do you see this in your own life now that you say you have the 5:30 club for working out with men? Do you see there an effect in you and the people, the men which come there, that it helps them to be a man again in some way?
Men need community. Men need time together, just as women need community. And, men are lonely creatures in that we don't really share what's going on. Part of this workout group is to motivate people to be comfortable enough to be open. But the thing with men is that we are shaped and carved in our childhood by shame. It's one of the big chisels that's used to shape us. And no one means to do it, but we're just shamed. And if we're not doing something, if we're not working hard, or if we're show emotions, I have a great father. He's still with us. I have a great father, but he comes from a different generation. I remember as a kid, I was like 8 years old. This is classic INFP. I caught all these little minnows in the stream, and I brought them up to the house, and they all died. It was like 100 dead minnows in the pail. I felt so guilty. I was sitting on the stairs, like moping, hoping someone would notice my emotional state. My father walked by me, and he just stopped, and he said, "What's the matter with you?" And I mentioned how I'd killed all these fish. And he didn't even say anything. He just like sighed and continued walking. And that was like one of those moments where you're like, oh, okay. And now I feel embarrassed that I felt sad. That's how many men are shaped. So we get to this point where so much of our value is about what we produce. And then when we're not producing value, we struggle. And then who do we tell? Like, okay, when we have a cash crunch in our company, which happens, and I'm thinking, I don't know how I can make payroll. Well, who do I share that with? Like, who do I talk to? I don't want to worry my partner. I don't share that with my kids. Who do I share that with? But it's a load. So I think that's the challenge for men. That's why we've got to be able to seek community out. I think too, Oliver, one thing I love about you in my brief time that I've got to know you is you're a very authentic person. I wanted to mention this. You're very authentic. You're very disarming. You're very open about your life. You're very vulnerable. And that gives other men permission to do that. And I just want to appreciate you for that. And I hope more people watch your show, because I think it will give them opportunity to think, okay, I can share. I mean, you've shared very openly about your life and where you're at right now and what the struggles are. And that's normal. Like not a man doesn't have some kind of struggle. We just don't talk about them. So we need more guys like you leading the way.
Oh, thanks. I get the lashback. You're too emotional. You're too open. You shouldn't share that. People are not interested. But I also was thinking when you shared, I don't know if you said it in another podcast, like having masterminds where you like have like-minded people in similar situations, like being a leader, a business owner, entrepreneur, whatever. So you have similar issues where you can share and grow with each other because they will understand it better. Like being in a group of I don't know, production workers, and you're like the leader of 10 people, and you have these business problems. These production workers would just come in the morning, put their card and start working. They cannot really understand the problem. They're like, "Oh, that's luxury. I wish I had that problem." So I think it's also like finding the right people. And
Exactly.
what I also found out with men and women, we have different hormonal balances. Women need to just be in a community, just sit there and just talk. That gives them love and that gives them the right hormones to be in the balance, which for men, this is not good enough. And that's what's the problem. I was home with 2 kids while my ex-wife was working. So being unemployed, home with the wife earning a good engineering team lead management job salary was making me very uncomfortable. And I gave away all the masculine task, which is managing, which is guiding, which is protecting, to my ex-wife because she brought the money, because I felt like, how can I manage the money when she brings it home? So we need different things. And as a man, we need this competition a bit. It doesn't mean that I need to beat you or something, but it's like play a game, do, as you say, adventures, get the adrenaline up, get the pulse up, get sweating. I think that's where we get balanced. Women don't need that. They don't need to go out and like on the basketball court and talk their problems out. No, they will probably sit with the tea and I don't know, knitting or just chatting, where we will, go out on the basketball court, even at 50, 60, or play soccer or baseball or whatever it is we do, right? That's what we need. And we forget that. We get more and more lonely. We have less and less that guy we can call and say, hey, I have this problem. So thank you for that. And the last thing, from all the things I have in my head from which opened up. So we respect the time because you have some tasks to do. So the true north, this is what I shared, right? It's like, what is my fucking true north? Because I have all these interests, creativity, talk to people, right? I love what I do now. But when I am going to the post process, I'm like, oh shit, man, I wish I have someone helping me, but I don't have the cash because I'm unemployed. Work a bit here, work a bit there, just make, the ends meet. So how do we find the true north in your experience, which is not for everyone, but for someone it is? So what is your approach?
Before I answer that, I just wanted to circle back, if you don't mind. You had mentioned about, I don't have the cash, so I can't do that. I had said that once to a friend of mine. I was like, well, I don't have the money. It had to do with advertising. I said, I don't have the money, so I can't run Facebook ads. And he said to me, well, is that a true statement, what you just said? And I was like, well, of course, I don't have money. I can't do Facebook ads. He goes, yeah, but you're talking about growing your company. So you don't have money, so you can't grow your company. Is that true? And I said, well, I mean, it makes it harder. And he really challenged me to look at the belief that I was saying, because he's saying, so you're saying there's no other way? Like there's no other way in the universe? And then I realized, okay, I wasn't using my creativity, which is one of my strengths, that there's often another way. We just maybe haven't thought of it. So anyways, I just passed that on. That was something he said to me and it made me think.
It's true. But I've been pondering on it, like, how can I make it happen? And I know other podcasters, they just get people coming and they help them. But the people coming to me, they want money. And like, I use more money than money comes in. So I don't want to have even more money going out than in. That's where I am. I'm really at the bottom of the income.
You need to find someone who is willing to do it for the experience, exactly, and not get money.
And if it grows to a point that it makes money, I'm gladly sharing. And that's where the creativity comes in. I haven't seen the way because I do everything myself. I
Of
do the
course.
booking, I do the editing, I do the interview, and that's why I'm not consistent. Right? And people are like, you have to be more consistent. Like, yeah, try it with looking for jobs, having a dog, working out, do all the other things. You cannot predict how many people you book, right? Now I had a podcast yesterday, one today and one on Tuesday. Wow, in 5 days, 3 interviews. And 3 months before, I had nothing. It's very hard to predict because you never know if you have a resonance with
Yeah.
a person to have the interview. At least what I do. There's other podcasts which are different, right? Podcast is not equal podcast.
Yeah, yeah. Well, for everybody who's listening right now, if you enjoy Oliver and his heart and his spirit, and you've enjoyed his guests, and you think, hey, I'd like to get involved in this project, and maybe as a booking for him, maybe helping use your gifts of organizing, maybe you've got some video skills and editing skills, or you don't, but you would like to learn, I encourage you to reach out to Oliver and let's build a team around him.
Thanks a lot. So yeah, now True North.
True North. Can you remind me of the question again?
Yeah, because you're right, going for the true north. And that's what you hear many personal growth people, business people, go and do the one step at a time in the true north. But if you
Yeah.
don't know your true north, it's kind of difficult to take those steps. So what in your experience helps to find the true north?
Well, there's a bunch of questions you can ask yourself. One could be that imagine yourself at your funeral and imagine that person after person gets up and talks about you. What do you want them to say as they describe your life? Because they're not going to describe your bank account, right? They're going to describe qualities. So what are those qualities that would you most hope they say? That's one way to do it. Another way is to reflect on the question, what if I was financially independent? What if I won a lot of money after I played and bought stuff and traveled? Now what? What do I want to do with my life? And it's not so much what's the thing. We're looking for the why. Oh, I would do this. Why? Why would you do it? I would move to, I don't know, Africa and help build schools. Yes, but why would you do that? Right. And we're looking because that's going to tell you a little bit about a true north. Another question you can ask yourself is what really breaks your heart? What breaks your heart in the world right now? And why does that break your heart? Because I guarantee you, what breaks your heart, there's a billion other people that doesn't break their heart. So why does it break your heart? So those are 3 ways to get you started. Think about what would you like said at your funeral? What if you won a ton of money? What would you do? And then why would you do it? Thirdly, what breaks your heart in this world? And why is that? Because it's probably attached to something deeply, deeply valuable to you.
That's actually very good. I like that. So one is Steve Copy or whatever his name was. The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People.
Start with the end in mind.
Yes, start with the end in mind. So I think we are at the end of this podcast and I love it. So we have a few tips and tricks here, advices already, at least 2 I can remember. Did I forget to ask anything you would like to get out for this episode?
Just if you're interested in this conversation, go check out my book at iwillclimb.com, iwillclimb.com, and it's a summons for you to step into something larger. Other than that, thank you for the time. It's been great to be with you, Oliver.
So, the next question is like, where do they reach out with you? But that is there. And you're working on your webpage all over and over again because...
We just relaunched it, yeah.
Yeah, you redesign. That's what I heard in other episodes because wow, I have this 9-minute Monday or whatever it's called, step-by-step leadership book. And you worked as a speaker and leadership teacher and all these things. And now this is kind of like a spiritual part of it and like how to connect it. So this will be interesting to see how this evolves in the near future. So thank you so much for your time. And this was a bit longer than expected. And thank you for that as well. And let's see if we're going to have another episode or not. So people which made it that far, thank you that you listened to the end. And please share, subscribe, like, and send it to people you think they can profit from this talk. And leave some comments at the end. Like, what did you like? What didn't you like? What were you missing? So I can get better and in my interviews. so we also know what you guys like. I always like feedback. Thank you so much, and have a great for you day, for me evening, and whatever you do out there in the world. Goodbye.